at that etching, folks. Isn't that lovely? I'm not a big fan of these flowery etched ukuleles, but a lot of people like them. And this is a new ukulele to me by a company called Makani. Now, although this is a good ukulele, it's nicely made. It's a solid spruce top, nice grain, mahogany back and sides, rosewood board, all the usual appointments. It stacks up to the ukes I've been showing you recently. The artwork isn't bad if you like this sort of thing. The rosette features roses, and then you have, a nice floral design on the bottom there. I've put this with a pink padded bag because I think it fits really well. So this is Makani. Now this is something I want to point out about the instrument world. Creating logos that sound a lot like something else to create traffic. A lot of people do this. This is not just Chinese ukulele manufacturers. I see it in a lot of things. For instance, there is a ukulele, as I'm sure you're aware of, called Kala. And Kala has a budget smaller brand called Makala, M-A-K-A-L-A, very similar to Makani. And Makala, I looked up, has a model that has very similar etching. And it probably sells well. Kala ukes are well known, so their budget series Makala probably sell well. So these guys came along. Who knows, they might be made in the same factory. Put together a very similar looking uke, put a very similar looking logo on there, and a lot of people might buy this thinking it's a Makala, it's a Makani. I don't think there's a whole, I've had Makalas and worked on them, I don't think there's a whole lot of difference. In fact, this one might be actually better than the Makalas that I've seen. But this is just another example of the reason why you should not take branding and logos that seriously. It's a very fluid world. There's lots of stuff going on. I showed you a video last time of a exactly identical ukulele that had two distinctly different logos and brands on it. It was made and then it was passed along to distributors who put their logos on it. And that's what these companies usually are. They might be involved in speccing the ukuleles, they might not. They might grab up a few hundred extras, stamp their logo on it, and sell it, or distribute it. This is the world we live in now. So I always, I'm trying to make this something that I emphasize on my channel. Check out the ukulele for what it is, the guitar for what it is, the cello, the violin, the mandolin for what it is, and worry about this second. This is a secondary consideration. What I'm concerned about is this top. How's the grade of spruce? How's it graduated? What's the thickness like? Does it have a nice ring to it? What's the backwood like? Is it a good solid hardwood? Is it structurally sound? Is it a flat back, or does it have arching to help with structural integrity? What's the neck like? What's the neck joint like? Is there a joint? Is it just glued on, or is there a mortise in there? What's the fretboard material like? Is it a good hardwood like a rosewood, or at least maple, or is it something painted to resemble those things? How are the frets? Is it soft metal? Is it nickel, silver? Are they brass? How is the headstock? Is it plied? Is it a solid piece of wood? How's it cut? How are the tuners? If you don't recognize the brand on the tuners, do they hold tune? Do they have a good turning ratio? Does the machinations on the tuner, is it smooth? Are the things bound? Does it have kerfling on the inside, like it should? What's the bracing pattern like on the inside? Those are all thoughts I have before I look at that. This comes last, because this is a good ukulele. It's nicely made. It's not my style. I'm not really into patterns on the front, but for a beginning student who would like a floral pattern ukulele, this is nicely done. I've seen some hideous ones out there. It's nicely put together. It's good materials. The binding is really nice. It's double purfled around the binding, so you have a binding and a purfling on the inside of the binding. It has back binding. The neck is bound. This is a cheap uke. You know, you buy this thing for well, I think I sell them for about $120 with a gig bag, or $100 maybe. You know, it's not a high-end uke, but it's nicely made. It sounds good. It's got a nice uke plink. So all of these factors I try to think about before I worry about what's on there, because I've never heard of Makani, and I have no idea who makes it, or if they actually are makers, or if they made 10 of these, or if they made 5,000 of these. All I can go on is how it's made, and that's more important to me. And I'm finding that this is becoming the central concern in the instrument world, is not to get overly concerned about logos or even where things are made, but to look at materials and craftsmanship and the way the thing is made and how it sounds, the materials used. Those things are the most important. I know I'm preaching the same old gospel, but it's worth it. So I'll see you next time.